If I were to tell you about a class for a gambler such as yourself, a class where you're looking for every coin flip, every roll of the dice, every spin of the roulette wheel to come up red, assuming you bet on red, which class would you think I'd be talking about? This rough and tumble gambler? Nah, certainly not the gunslinger. No, I'm talking about the Magus, which is the most gamble-heavy class in all of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Everything and anything you can do is on one lucky roll, and if you fail, you have to make that awkward walk back to the cage at the casino where you have to take out more money, or you go to an ATM. That's a little bit awkward because there's like a fee, and there might be a line there. It's all really awkward and uncomfortable. All of this to say, the Magus is one of the least reliable classes in Pathfinder 2e, and that's by design, because the Magus, if they hit everything, is the single strongest class in Pathfinder 2e. The full damage of a weapon plus the full damage of a spell all together on one turn. It's a hard class to play, so here's 5 tips to help improve your Magus in Pathfinder 2e. And also, I'm going to switch up the script a little bit this time. See all these cool people on this list? If you would like to get on this list, you can go to patreon.com/knownatones. Alternatively, there is a link you can click in the description of this video. When you go over there, you'll find various tiers of 5, 10, 20, and even $1 that you can pledge for to support the channel and get your name on that list. They all do the exact same thing. Don't worry about it. They all just support me a different amount. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You see, I know some of you are thinking, oh, he's just rehearsing the same line. Every time he does a Patreon plug, he does the exact same words in the exact same order, the exact same intonation. No. I improv. I'm an actor. I wanted to yell, give me your money again, but I feel like doing that 3 or 4 videos would be too much. Let's get tip number 1 out of the way, because in my opinion, this is the most important tip for the Magus in the entire system, and it sucks. Trust me, you're not gonna like hearing this, but you need to understand this if you're going to play a Magus. You are going to miss your spellstrike, and it is going to suck. Let me go ahead and paint just how much you lose when you miss your spellstrike. Obviously, you're wasting 2 actions to do the spellstrike. That's already pretty rough. It's also 2 attacks to your multiple attack penalty, so if you're going to attack with your 3rd action, that's at -10. Not to mention, if you cast a spell from your spell slot, that's 1 spell slot that you lose if you miss the spellstrike. And remember, the Magus is a bounded caster, meaning without feats to expand it, you get 4 spell slots per day. 1 missed spell strike is 25% of your spells gone at any given time. But slow down, you haven't just wasted 2 actions, because spell strike, after being used, needs to be recharged. Luckily, your subclass gives you a decent 1 action conflux spell that, on top of recharging your spell strike, usually has some kind of decent effect. But they're not exactly game changing, and if you're out of focus points, you're just spending 1 action to recharge spellstrike, doing absolutely nothing else. So you've basically lost 3 actions, 2 multiple attack penalty incursion, and a spell slot, all to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to scare you away. I'm trying to scare you away a little bit, but only because you need to understand this. This is the class. If you hit with your spell strike on your highest available spell rank, you're gonna deal the most damage in the game. No comparison whatsoever. If you've got a great axe swinging with Disintegrate, that's been my go-to Magus example for literally 3.5 years now. There is nothing in the game that can touch your total damage, but when you miss, and you're going to miss, it's gonna suck. Also, you're gonna have to pray you're alive the following turn to actually use another spell strike if you miss, because the Magus is not exactly a durable class. And there's a reason the Magus isn't that durable, and it's not just their 8 hit points per level, it's actually related to tip number 2, and that's the fact that the Magus is incredibly mad. No, they're not upset or angry, they are multiple ability dependent. That's an acronym, ladies and gentlemen. A Magus fighting in melee is pretty much going to require a great strength stat, a decent dexterity score, and a decent constitution score, otherwise you're going to die incredibly quickly. I had the pleasure of running for a friend who made a Magus with +4 strength, 0 dexterity, and 0 constitution. He went down round 1 of every single combat for 4 sessions in a row. This is because the Magus can only wear medium armor, and medium armor, even at the highest armor bonus, is still somewhat dex reliant. I think the best you can get is a breastplate, and even that wants you to have at least a +1 to dexterity, and then constitution is just the extra hit points on top of your, by base, very small hit point pool. But then maybe you want to bump intelligence, wisdom, or charisma for certain skill proficiencies. Increasing your intelligence score, after all, will give you not only more skill proficiencies, it's also going to affect spell save DCs, because even if you spell strike with a saving throw spell, they still make their saving throw, and your spells are based on your intelligence. So technically, a Magus needs strength, dexterity, constitution, and intelligence, not counting wisdom or charisma if they want them for certain skills or for roleplay reasons. So you're going to have to make some really tough choices when you build your Magus. You can be average at a lot of things, a little bit more durable, but if you don't max out your strength, you're going to miss out on more spell strikes because you're not going to be as accurate. Honestly, ranged Magi are a little bit more durable because they can just pump their dexterity. They don't even need to really worry about strength, and knocking off 1 entire ability score for them to worry about is a massive upgrade for a character. So just keep that in mind and really think your ability scores through when building your Magus. You need a lot. You're probably going to have to dump something. Do you want lower armor class? Do you want lower hit points? Or do you want lower spell save DCs? Because if you're using a weapon in melee, you're going to want high strength. Unless you're like Laughing Shadow, but then we're just getting into semantics. But there is something to cleanse a little bit of that worry thanks to the remaster, because my third tip is more of a reminder than a tip, but I think it's worth saying in a video like this. My third tip is that thanks to the remaster, cantrips are so much stronger for the Magus than they used to be. Why do I say that? Well, it's because the Magus has never been able to max out their intelligence. In fact, it's not even their key ability score, so the highest bonus you're ever going to get from intelligence at level 1 is a +3, and in the pre-master of Pathfinder 2e, a lot of cantrips dealt 1 damage die plus spell casting modifier. For example, if you used spellstrike with telekinetic projectile, you would be dealing 1d6 plus intelligence modifier for the spell's damage on your spellstrike. But now, in the remaster, every single cantrip in the game, correct me if I'm wrong, I did some research, I'm pretty sure it's every cantrip, has lost the spellcasting modifier to damage and has instead gained an extra damage dice. For example, telekinetic projectile now deals a flat 2d6 damage. This is incredible for the Magus because you don't need to worry about your intelligence as much. Obviously, you're going to want some intelligence if you're going to be using saving throw spells, but at the end of the day, saving throw spells just aren't as good on the Magus because it's an extra chance for something to go wrong. Whereas spell attack rolls, if you hit with your strike, they get affected by the spell attack roll, meaning telekinetic projectile on a spell strike with a great axe at level 1 and a +4 strength is dealing 1d12 plus 2d6 plus 4. Right at level 1, that's more damage than I think anybody else could do. Could you imagine rolling max damage on a crit? What is that? Is that 56 damage at level 1 on a cantrip spell strike? And like I said, multiple cantrips were given this facelift that for a lot of people they were upset because they were no longer adding a flat +4 and instead rolling a random d6. This was actually a nerf for all other spellcasters in the game, but a buff for the Magus. So look out for Void Warp, like I said, telekinetic projectile, I believe electric arc, and of course the Magus's favorite, Gouging Claw, which is absolutely nuts. If you're just looking for a max damage cantrip to use on your Magus, Gouging Claw. And if you're confused about me mentioning saving throw spells throughout this video when talking about Spellstrike, there was an errata in 2024 that allowed Spellstrike at base level to use saving throw spells rather than requiring the expansive Spellstrike feat. It was a huge errata, and unfortunately they never released an updated PDF of it, I think because they're still working on the remastered Secrets of Magic. So right now, if you're looking for Magus information, I recommend using Archives of Nethys over the books themselves, to be honest, because Archives of Nethys is fully updated with all erratas, but the Paizo PDF is not. Tip number 4 is a little bit unorthodox, but I think it's going to be very useful for certain situations, especially where the enemy is far away from you and you are playing a melee Magus. Tip number 4 is that you can enter Arcane Cascade before using your spellstrike. Why do I word the tip like this? Well, remember, your spells are still spells. Just because you can spellstrike doesn't mean you have to spellstrike. If you have Frostbite prepared and an enemy is 60 feet away from you, it would be almost a waste of your own time and advantage to stride twice to get into melee and then just make a normal melee attack. Instead of doing that, consider casting Frostbite and then entering Arcane Cascade for your third action. Then on your enemy's turn, they'll have to waste actions approaching you, which means they'll hopefully get in melee with you, maybe they'll get one attack on you, and look at that. You're in Arcane Cascade, you still have Spellstrike prepared, and you can wallop them. Sure, Arcane Cascade grants like 2 extra damage, but damage is damage, and you didn't have to give up your advantageous position to gain it. So look for opportunities where you might be able to cast spells and cantrips at a range, especially to enter Arcane Cascade if you're not already. I'm keeping the take. You are still a spellcaster. Sure, your spell attack rolls are likely going to be a lot lower than your weapon attack rolls, but if you have the distance and you know the enemy has to get close to you first anyway, use that range to your advantage. Don't just go running in. You're wasting a huge battlefield advantage that can be huge for setting you up for an even bigger crit later on with your spellstrike. And my 5th tip is the most anti-no-nat-ones tip I've ever given. I don't like this tip, and it's the only class in the entire game I will ever say this for. If you're playing a Magus, build your character so that their primary ability score starts at +4 and increase it every single chance you get. You know I'm not a big, min-max your ability score to +4, whatever you're going to be using all the time, because for a lot of classes, it's not going to make a difference that often. But when you're a fighter or a flurry ranger or anything like that, you miss once, boo-hoo, you can attack again on your next turn just fine, it's not a big deal. As a Magus, those occasional attacks where you would have hit because of the +1 feel so much worse. I'm not saying to max your strength because it will make you win more. I'm saying to max your strength because if you don't, the class is just going to be less fun to play. The entire game is going to be less fun to play. It's one thing to be playing a ranger and miss your shot for the turn and everyone goes, he rolled a 2. It's another thing to be playing a Magus. You spend your highest available spell slot, you spend 2 actions and you spell strike, and you miss the target by 1 or 2 points. It's the worst feeling in the world. I am not exaggerating when I say that the Magus has 2 options in combat. Kill the boss in 1 hit, or be absolutely useless and die. Those are your 2 options as a Magus. So, for this one class, I'd say do everything you can to ensure it's the prior and not the latter. Don't die as your Magus. Kill the boss before they even get a chance to attack you. That's my advice. There's your bonus tip. Kill things before they can hurt you. That's all from me. I want to give a huge shout out to all the members of the No-Nat-Ones Patreon. Once again, thank you for supporting the channel. Link in the description if you also want to support. Thank you for supporting No-Nat November all month. I have not missed a day. This is video number 9. We are almost 1/3 of the way there. Tomorrow is the 1/3 point, y'all. Looking forward to it. I'm going to jump right into recording the next video, so I will see you in the next one. That's not my outro. Why did I say it like I was doing a Let's Play? See you in episode 10 of Let's Play No-Nat November. I'm ending the video. This bit is stupid.